welcome back to another episode of the Format Podcast. Before we get started today on this NFL topic, yes, the NFL is back and woo, Josh Allen is looking legit. But before we get to that, you know what to do. Go ahead and click that subscribe, like, and notification bell so you can know when new episodes come out and you can be here with us every step of the way. If you want the audio-only version of the podcast, pretty much anywhere you get your audio podcast, we are available. Just type in the Format Podcast. Might take a little while to come up, but we are working on it, all right? Make sure you leave a comment, leave a like, help us rise up in the algorithm, help us find more sports fans, and help more sports fans find us. Also, if you're watching on YouTube, please go ahead, leave a comment in the comment section. All that stuff helps us rise. And if you can, your platform allows it, however you're watching or listening, please leave us that 5-star review. Really helps a lot. Appreciate it. Now let's get to it. So, Thursday night was the opening game of the 2022-23 NFL season. Thank goodness football is back. Whether you love college or pro, football is back. You know, quick side note, I must be like the only guy in the world who doesn't like summer very much. And why don't I like summer? Because there's no football and I'm just going crazy waiting for it. It's crazy, right? So I'm always like rushing through the summer waiting for football to get back. My two favorite seasons of the year are spring and fall. Love fall. Just beautiful. Although, I'm digressing a little bit. Living in Florida, there's not really much of a fall, right? You go from hot to kind of cool, this so-called winter here. And then in what most of the rest of the country calls springtime, you get right back to hot. So anyway, yeah, so happy that football is back. And the opening game was the Rams and the Buffalo Bills, basically the two conference favorites, looking for a Super Bowl matchup. And hopefully we will get that matchup in the Super Bowl. But if it's anything like what we saw on opening night, it'll be a blowout. And what do I mean by that? I mean that the Buffalo Bills won 31-10 and they didn't even play their best. I think they had 4 turnovers in the game. So the rest of the league should be absolutely scared. They should be very frightened. Josh Allen, obviously quarterback of the Buffalo Bills, man of the hour. He is the guy that a lot of people are touting as a possible MVP. A guy who everyone is looking at as, you know, top 3 or 4 quarterback in the league, a guy who can really do it. He's got all the tools. He's a big guy. He's got a big arm. He's super mobile. He is a guy who, I mean, he's come a long way since he's entered the league. Obviously came from a small school, I think Wyoming, either Wyoming and North Dakota, but I believe it's Wyoming. But the point I'm trying to make here is Josh Allen looks to be that guy. Had an absolutely incredible playoff run last year in the 2 games that he played. 9 touchdowns, no picks, and basically was 1 possession away from getting to the AFC Championship game. That was a tremendous divisional game. And oh my gosh, Josh Allen and Joe Burrow, had they both made it to the AFC conference title game, that would have been bonkers. Not to say that Joe Burrow and Pat Mahomes wasn't bonkers, but quick side note, man, the young quarterback play in this league is incredible. Now, you know me, I'm a context guy. A big part of that young quarterback play being so incredible is obviously the rules and the way the game is being coached now. So offensive leaning in terms of throwing the ball more than it's ever been thrown, getting away from run game in a lot of cases. And, you know, obviously you can't hit the quarterback the way you used to, can't hit receivers the way they used to. A lot more in the short passing game to boost up the completion percentages. But with all of that, quarterbacks seem to be much more highly trained if they're showing elite traits from a younger age than they ever have been before. So the quarterback play at the among the young quarterbacks in the NFL currently is just amazing, and it looks like it's just going to continue to be that. And then you're going to have more outstanding young quarterbacks coming into the league next year. But back to the topic at hand, Josh Allen. So Josh Allen is an amazing guy, a tremendous player. And what really got me thinking on this topic is because I heard Colin Cowherd, who I really like, and I'm pretty sure I've heard a couple other guys say it too. Josh Allen is like nothing we've ever seen before. Now, this kind of frustrates me about the modern sports media and the modern sports fan. Everything that happens now is a result of recency bias. It's like nothing we've never seen before. It's like nothing we've ever seen before. Now, Josh Allen, again, I just finished seeing his praises. He's a tremendous player. Got a lot of love for Josh Allen. But to say he's like nothing we've ever seen before is that a bit of a stretch? Because I'm pretty sure there's a couple of guys, one in particular, who are a lot like Josh Allen. How about 3-time in a row in the 1990s. MVP Brett Favre. How about that guy? Mobile, huge arm, gunslinger mentality, right? How about another guy? And this is the guy I really want to compare to Josh Allen if we take a look at it. John Elway. He's the standard bearer for quarterbacks coming out of college now. We always hear best quarterback prospect since John Elway, right? We heard that about Andrew Luck. We hear that about, what's his name? Trevor Lawrence down in Jacksonville, right? So we know how elite John Elway was. Now, a lot of younger viewers, again, are going to look, viewers and listeners, they're going to look at John Elway and they're going to immediately go to Pro Football Reference. They're going to look at his numbers and say, John Elway wasn't that good. You know, I don't think he completed 60% of his passes for his career. Okay. He threw a lot of picks. Okay. Also threw a lot of touchdowns. Do we realize John Elway is the second player in NFL history to pass for 50,000 yards? Now, try to remember John Elway's running backs. He played, I think, 14 years, 15 years. Now, until the very end, when he got Terrell Davis, he didn't really have a great running game, right? John Elway literally was carrying the Broncos on his back. Now, John Elway probably doesn't get the due he's deserved for his greatness because he lost 3 Super Bowls in horrible fashion, got blown out by the Giants, got blown out by the Washington Commanders, who were then known as the Washington Redskins. I'm just using that term because that's what they were known at that time when they beat the Broncos in the Super Bowl. I think they beat them 42-10. I think the Giants and Phil Simms beat them 39-20. And I want to say they probably got blown out even worse than that by the 49ers and Joe Montana. I think Joe Montana and the Niners put a 50-piece on them. But the point I'm trying to make is John Elway carried those teams, which were not great teams, but he carried them to the Super Bowl literally on his back. John Elway was an amazing player. And then he got the 2 championships at the end of his career and walked out after the final one. So John Elway's a guy who went to the Super Bowl 5 times. Now, if you're saying right now to yourself, and I know I would, you're saying, Bruce, you don't give LeBron credit for going to the finals multiple times. Okay. The difference is, even though John Elway's been to the Super Bowl multiple times and is under 500 in the Super Bowl, we know that it's harder to get to the Super Bowl multiple times than it is to get to the NBA Finals multiple times. And John Elway didn't have the benefit of manipulating and stacking super teams to get there. Just a different sport entirely, different roster constructs, etc. So this is not me taking a shot at LeBron. This is me explaining the differential in my thinking on why I give John Elway more credit for making it to the Super Bowl more times, even though he's under 500 in that big game, than I do LeBron James for being under 500 in the NBA Finals. Not saying it's not impressive to have gotten there 10 times. It is. Long seasons, blah, blah, blah. But it's just a totally different calculus in how that happens. Now, so John Elway, right? He carried, I'm not going to say subpar teams because he got to the Super Bowl and you can't be a subpar team in the NFL get to the Super Bowl. But on a championship level, he carried subpar teams and we saw what happened when he got there. Now, John Elway is a guy, and this is kind of where I was getting to, moving it back to Josh Allen. John Elway is a guy who had a rocket arm. You hear that from just about every receiver he played with, Shannon Sharp included, who was tight end. But he had a rocket arm. We hear that about Josh Allen, right? Absolute cannon, throwing it 50, 60 yards with ease. And when he really puts his arm into it, throwing it 80 plus yards, right? Rocket arm. We know that about John Elway. We know that about Josh Allen. We also talk about how Josh Allen has tremendous mobility for such a big man. And he is very mobile. He is very physically gifted. He's a big, strong guy. He can really move. Kind of like Ben Roethlisberger, but a little slimmer and even more athletic in terms of his ability to run with the football, right? So maybe a young Big Ben is kind of a comparison, but he's more accurate than Big Ben, and he may even have a bigger arm than Big Ben. I think he does. Now, back to the John Elway comparison. When John Elway was young, that guy was super mobile. He really could get out there and run the football. And that was in an era where quarterbacks could get absolutely blasted, whether they were in the pocket or whether they were out of the pocket. They could really get hit. Now, to that point, John Elway was a tremendous athlete. He actually got drafted to play Major League Baseball by the New York Yankees, right? A lot of people don't know that or don't remember that. John Elway was an incredible athlete. He's a big guy. I think he was about 6'4", huge arm. I think Josh Allen's 6'5", 6'6", so both really big guys, both really big arms, both super mobile, and both, as you see, really have the ability to make every throw. Now, where people are going to say, really going to get into it, is they're going to say, well, John Elway didn't complete 60% of his passes for his career. He threw a lot of picks, blah, blah, blah. But the difference is, in terms of the completion percentage, back then, as I mentioned, quarterbacks could really get hit. They weren't nearly as protected as they are now. And the other part is wide receivers could really get hit. Like now, wide receivers can run across the middle pretty much with impunity, and if you hit them, it's defenseless receiver rule, right? Back then, only the toughest of wide receivers were willing to go across the middle and catch that thing, because linebackers and safeties were there waiting to knock your block off, right? And so all of these factors, all of these rules changes affect the percentages and the numbers. So I say it all to say, Josh Allen is incredible. No question about it. Really like him. Love watching him play. I think he's going to be outstanding. I'm not going to go to the Hall of Fame stuff yet. He's got a long way to go before that, especially in football. You make the Hall of Fame in football, you know you deserve it. Now, he's incredible, but when we sit back and we hear people say, we've never seen anything like him. No. Can we stop the recency bias? Can we stop the hyperbole? I love Josh Allen, but to say we've never seen anything like him is just ridiculous and is disingenuous, because the guy we've seen who's like him, that's the guy who helicoptered into the end zone in the Super Bowl at the end of his career to make it happen. That guy, his name is John Elway. We have seen something like him. So let's put some respect on the names of the past and not act like they weren't there and that everything we see now is the first time it happened. All right. Thanks. That's all I got for this episode. Appreciate you. And I'm out. Peace.